12, 14, 16-point lead, they would make some plays. They would get a little juice, and they would respond. And, I think that it's very evident at times that we have a very young team that, will give up a couple easy ones and allow somebody to get back into the game. And that's taking nothing away from Wake Forest, because I said I thought they made some plays. I think, we had just 10 turnovers on a team that was, I think, one of the leaders in our league of turning people over. A few of those were at the end. But Wake Forest is playing hard, and they're competing. And we got in foul trouble with David and Jalen. It changed the complexity of the game. We had 4 guys cramp. I don't know what's in the water here in Winston-Salem, but it was affecting us having to pull different guys and playing some whacked lineups. But anytime you can win on the road, you're happy and you figure out like where we could have done a better job. We fouled way too much tonight. But I thought Sam, he's been a little bit maligned to go double-double, really bounced back tonight. Carleek was really, really good. And I thought Dre Davis did some great things around the basket. And David goes 9 assists, 1 turnover. So, we will take it on the road. Trust me.
Chris, there had to be a lot of things that you were satisfied and happy about. I want to ask you about a couple specifically, things you were working on. They ran the ball again well. They moved early without the ball. I know that's been something you've been working on. And then at the end of games, those late game shot clock and press attack, you guys looked much more precise tonight. What gave you the most satisfaction of those things? And were you pleased? I assume you were, but were you pleased with those things?
Yeah, I thought there were a couple of decisions. We want to be flawless at the end, Bob, and you get a shot and you miss it. That's fine. We can't foul on an offensive rebound. I know Sam's trying to hustle and get an extra possession, but the last thing you're going to do is you come out of the timeout and you only run 20 seconds off the clock. You don't score. Now they get at the free throw line and get to cut the lead by 2. So we got to do some things a little bit better down the stretch. I thought we did get better. They showed us an awful lot of looks tonight. They went 1-3-1. They went diamond press at the end. They changed up their ball screen coverage literally every TV timeout. They were icing them or downing them in the last 5 minutes of the game. And I thought for not really having seen it, thought we handled all that stuff fairly well. Again, defensively, if we could defend without fouling, then maybe our defensive effort and their score is a little bit lower, but that's okay. We'll get better and hopefully get after it here the next couple of days and get ready for Miami.
You talked a little about Sam, but let me ask you again, did you speak with him before the game specifically at all? Because he was a demon on the backboards, but he looked so relaxed shooting his three-point shot today, completely different. Did you have any specific conversation with him?
Not tonight. The majority of my conversation took place the day after Virginia Tech, and we sat and talked for about 20 minutes. And, I think he aired a little, frustration in the way that he was playing. And I told him to focus on effort, and we covered some other things. And, usually when you get what they call lost in the game, Bob, and worrying about like game planning, who I'm guarding, keeping that guy out of the lane, fronting if he's a post player, all the little things, and you run the floor really hard, especially with the guards that we have, you're going to find yourself getting a couple easy ones. And then, to top it off, the icing on the cake is Sam, knocks down some open threes. And, then all of a sudden he's played a complete game. I thought he was really good on the defensive end as well. Big step up for him from last game.
Is this kind of a blueprint for when you guys are good? David and Carleek are going to be good night in and night out, but Jalen gets in foul trouble tonight. Like you said, you had to play some makeshift lineups, but, Dre stepped up. Trainer gave you some good plays. Everybody put a little something in. That's kind of when you guys are at your best, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to have David on the floor a little bit more. He sat a lot in the first half. Jalen sat damn near the whole game. I think that's a little bit of, what we get with Jalen. Last game he goes 17-12 or whatever it was against one of the best post players in the league. And then no disrespect to Oguama, but, he's averaging 8 points, 9 points a game. And we couldn't stop him without fouling. He drew 6 fouls on our post guys. And the majority of times because we're staying behind him. So we need some consistent play out of a few younger guys, which is a tough ask. But those are sort of the cards we're dealt until we get Malik Williams back. And, so it wasn't Jalen's night. I thought JJ did some good things. Quinn came in, finally fronted the post. We got a steal in the crucial time at the end. But, yeah, I thought everybody contributed for the most part.
They made two big runs at you. They cut it to 4 in the first half, 1 in the second half. Are you seeing the kind of leadership you want from them? Do you still feel like you have to provide that, or is it some of that starting to come, internally from them, knowing they're challenged and getting it back on the rails?
That's a great question, Bob. And usually I'm sitting there saying, no, we need more. And I'll tell you what, I'm really pleased with what I see in the huddles, what I see with guys when they're walking off the floor, barking at each other in a very positive way. Carleek was very vocal in the huddles. David Johnson, even when he was out with foul trouble, was vocal in the huddle. Malik Williams had his head in the game. Dre Davis as a freshman. So, yeah, they are taking ownership of their team. They are competitors. They're not perfect. We make a lot of mistakes with the young group, but trust me when I tell you, they want to win. They want to clean up mistakes. They want to get better.
One last question before we go. Charles Minlin, at least you got him on the floor. You just obviously wanted to get him in. I thought he had one good defensive possession anyway, but he got beat once. But, what was that about, just to get his feet wet and let him run up and down a little bit?
Yeah, so, he's been released, and he's been released to practice full speed. He's able to play in games, but I'd be lying if I said he was ready. And this is going from personal experience. Bob, I had 2 ACLs in college. Not that anybody cares about my sob story, but when I came back and I was fully released, there's a part that the coaches just don't understand. It's like you're trailing on a screen. You just can't catch up. You're dragging your leg a little bit. And I really felt after 3 or 4 games, not to throw my old head coach under the bus, Coach Gillen, I felt like that was it. I was pegged like, hey, listen, he can't keep up. And it was tough. It was the toughest part of my life, to be honest. And so I pulled Charles aside right after the game and said, listen, you're not ready, but, I'm not giving up on you. Like, you got to get to the point where you're not thinking about it. You're moving just like you did before the injury. And, I'm not going to judge your performance and your play on where you're at now, because I know what he looked like before the injury. So he's a little cautious, but he's allowed to do everything. And I'm glad I'm going to give him those minutes. But, sometimes he's going to sink a little bit before he swims. But that's why we got other guys on the team. And, we've survived without him this long. I don't want it to be 2 or 3 more months. Trust me when I tell you that. But each and every game that goes by, he'll get more and more comfortable with it.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Go to questions now. First from Josh Graham.
Coach, Josh Graham from here in the Triad. First off, I have sources close to the situation that said that you went to putters not once but twice. Is that correct?
Once to say hello yesterday. I was in the restaurant for 5 minutes. I didn't order anything, Josh. Like today for lunch, 100% I was at putters.
Okay, and I know you have a relationship with Coach Forbes. You have the same agent, and you even scheduled a meeting at your prior stops. What would it mean to you, given the type of energy he has, the next time you come into this building, for it to be energized, maybe like it once was when you were here?
And that's going to happen. That is absolutely going to happen. You can just tell the energy that he has on the sidelines. His teams are already disruptive. Hell, they didn't practice for 30 days. Why? Who would expect a team that lost, Olivier Sarr, Sean D. Brown, transfers, hasn't really gotten his feet under him to recruit and bring guys in. A couple of the guys that he had are out for the year. I mean, like, could you pile, my cousin Vinny, it's like, could you pile any more on top for the guy? But having said that, I wanted to kick his ass tonight, because he's going to do really good things in this league and with this team. And he's a dude. Steve Forbes is a great dude. He's a normal guy, and I like normal guys.
We'll go to Pat and then Shannon.
Hey, Coach. Pat Jaggers, ESPN Louisville. Just to elaborate off your response about Charles Minlin, you talked about him not being the guy he was before the injury. I know it's kind of hard to tell just off his first outing back, but how far off do you think Charles is from being that guy he was before the injury?
I don't know, Pat. That's different for everybody. That's different for everybody. He's going to have to break through a little bit. I think it's just as much mental as physical. Fred Hina and our doctors wouldn't say, hey, you're good. You can go out there and go full speed if he couldn't. And so that's the challenge that an athlete coming off of a rehab has to assimilate themselves. I mean, we've been practicing now and playing for a couple months. So it's, not only is he coming off an injury, I mean, there's a lot of missed time and experience and all the other stuff, but he's done it before and done it at a high level for San Francisco. So, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. He's going to get every opportunity in practice to keep proving that he can get a little faster, that he can keep up defensively. And I want to extend his minutes, but it can't be at the cost of the team. And he knows that. But I'm not going to give up on him at all. And I wanted him to know that. It's just, I don't know. You see everybody like Charles Midland's back. He's back, but he's still behind a little bit. So give him time.
Shannon.
So Carlik obviously is your leading scorer for the season, but there have been games where he hasn't played as well as he could have. Tonight he has 23 points, which is the most in a uniform at Louisville. But do you think this is kind of indicative of what the kind of player you thought Carlik would be when he came here, the way he's stuffing the stats and just really taking over the games?
Yeah, I thought he'd be a guy that could close games. I was curious to see, how he would finish around the basket against bigger athletes, greater size, stronger players, higher verticals. He's just so daggone crafty. I still think that he can shoot it better. The end of the half, he sort of ISO'd at the foul line and missed that shot. And I mean, he makes that routinely. But he's getting there. I mean, I think he cramped up a little bit tonight. But he's one of the best guards in the country and one of the best guards in the league. And I think he's starting to show that and getting more and more comfortable with his teammates. But I don't know if we knew exactly where he would be, but we were sure hoping.
We'll take three more. Matt, Kent, and Jody. Start with Matt.
Hey, Coach. This is Matt McGavick with Sports Illustrated. David Johnson didn't have the greatest scoring night. He only had 5 points, but he ended up finishing with a new career high in assists with 9, and 7 of which came in the first half. What was it that both you and him were seeing out of that Wake Forest defense, particularly in that first half?
Dave's a playmaker. We were just trying to get him in the lane. Missed the easy bunny in the second half. And, he's done so much for us scoring the ball. And the thing I love about Dave is, he does what the game tells him to do. He took an ill-advised 3 there. We took back-to-back ones in the break. But, again, we're young sometimes, and we make those mistakes. We show them on film, and then we try to improve upon it in the next game. But I don't worry about Dave scoring or trying to score. There's going to be games where he scores more. There's going to be games where he scores less. He's been a heck of a defensive player all year long. I think the game was a little choppy just because of his fouls, but I thought he was very impactful at the end of the game. We started switching some ball screens, and he was guarding Oguama. And, that little double ball screen in the middle of the floor that was hurting us there for a couple of possessions completely froze up for him because of Dave.
Kent?
Yeah, Chris, another one on Carlik. It seemed like he played with a real edge. I mean, he always plays hard, but it even seemed like he really played with an edge tonight. Did you see that? And are you kind of getting the feel when he's ready to go, you can turn him loose a little bit?
Yeah, good. I want guys that play with an edge. We don't need milk drinkers out here in Winston-Salem. We need some guys that, want to fight legally. They want to get in the lane, and Carlik is a tough kid. He's self-made. Nobody recruited him. I hope he plays with a chip on his shoulder all year long and doesn't get used to the charter flights and everybody patting him on his back and talking about, hey, you're a Cardinal and all that stuff. Like, I hope he keeps playing like he didn't get recruited out of Aiken High School, because I think that's when players are at their best. But I want him to play edgy, and I want him to keep, sort of spreading that edginess around our team.
Last from Jody.
Chris, kind of a two-part. First of all, you now, I know you think one game at a time, but how do you prepare this week with a short? You've got Miami, and then have such a short turnaround after that on the road, and then at home. And then the second thing, you mentioned the cramps. Fred got a lot of work tonight. Was there anything? Do you know what? I mean, anything specific?
I really don't know. We got all these electrolyte packets and, Starburst flavors and, straws and different stuff. Like, I don't know what happened to like cutting oranges in half and just like putting them in your teeth. But yeah, I mean, we don't worry about all the turnaround. I mean, the ACC did us kindly and said we're going to try to play the game as late as possible on Wednesday night and on Saturday night, and so that you can turn around and fly 2 hours, the longest road trip outside of Boston College, to play Florida State. So we'll play the games the way they're scheduled, but we won't worry about Florida State. We can't afford to. We got to worry about being ready for Miami, and then when we're coming back on the plane, we'll worry about the Seminoles after that.
Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Back shortly with players.